Defying obstacles in same-sex marriage. There are many states in the Union that recognize same-sex marriage. This is important to be identified in society. There are groups that oppose same-sex marriage, and they are in a subculture of religious groups. Despite all of the opposition and obstacles, same-sex couples are pursuing marriage, creating families, and expanding their families with children. And it wasn't until 1970 that the first attempt to a same-sex marriage was between two individuals, Richard Baker and James McConnell. That was in Minnesota. They were denied, and they took the case all the way to the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court, and the denial was upheld. But it wasn't until 30 years later that the case Baskin versus Bogan, their case went to the U.S. Appeals Court, and this occurred in Indiana, and at that time, it was ruled that the ban on same-sex marriage was actually unconstitutional. So Gates in 2015 analyzed the National Health Interview Survey to discover that there are 690,000 homosexual couples, and approximately 130 of them are legally married. And so it gives homosexuals a status in society to be coupled and to have that stability of marriage. Now, according to Weber, that status, Weber 2011, he defined that as master status. Now, that supersedes any occupation or familial status like older brother, younger sister, or older sister, or aunt or uncle. So now having this master status and being married, that is definitely beneficial. Now, if one weren't to have that, that would be a detriment to the couple, and they wouldn't be performing in society as well. So, according to Emil Durkheim's functionalism theory, we are all interrelated as individuals in society. So one subculture needs to be just as well functioning as the other subculture. Now there is the subculture that does oppose strongly against same-sex marriage, and that is the religious subculture. Now, some denominations oppose more strongly than others. The Protestant evangelists, they are the denomination that strongly opposes same-sex marriage. Now, according to Bean and Martinez, they believe that homosexuality is a choice and not something that is inborn. So since they are choosing to be homosexual, they are defying society, so this is morally wrong. However, Herrick in 2011 states that the only choice that some homosexuals have is to decide with whom they will have a loving and intimate life. Now, there are more ambivalent groups like the Jewish, Unitarian, Universalists, and Catholics. However, they are internally divided, according to Bean and Martinez in 2011. But the ambivalent groups are they're contradicting themselves, is what they're doing. They're saying that these individuals should have certain rights, but then there are moral rights that they shouldn't have. They're getting these certain rights because they're living with them side by side, and they're interacting with them, they're getting to know them well, but then they should not have moral rights, and one of them being marriage. And so Bean and Martinez, they say it very well. In 2011, they say very well when they say, hate the sin and love the sinner. However, the younger generation and all of these religious groups are becoming more accepting, and they are helping the norm to shift because they're seeing the norm change, and so it's becoming more of the norm. And so they're making it the norm. So, as previously stated, the master status is something that's desired. So in order to obtain more master status, families have children. And so same-sex couples are starting to have children themselves, and they have that desire just like any other individuals who have the desire. I'm not saying everybody has to have children, but people do have the desire to have children. According to Redding in 2008, the question arose, is it better for a child to be brought up with in a heterosexual setting or in a homosexual setting? Now, there were studies done by two different authors, Redding in 2008 and Gates in 2015, that revealed there is not a difference between the parental gender of children. They develop cognitively, socially, and physically at the same rate. So there are actually benefits of children growing up in a homosexual household. They are used to diversity. They do not have the division of labor. There is no gender division of labor, so they aren't stereotypical normally. And they are less judgmental because they've had to deal with judgment themselves, typically. And so they're more open-minded. And Weber did point something out that was very interesting. Weber 2011. It's inevitable that children of same-sex parents, there is the norm, there is a stigma of children with homosexual parents. They're going to stereotype, they're going to exclude, and they're even going to suffer homophobia. However, the peers of the children with same-sex parents, they are going to witness the stability of two parents. They're going to witness the social status, they're going to witness the master status, and they're going to identify that the children with the same-sex partners are the same as the parents, the children with the heterosexual parents. So it's all going to be equal. It's all about equality. So there has been significant progression in same-sex marriage. The religious groups are the strong groups that are opposing. It's a subculture that still has to have barriers that are broken through. There's always going to be opposition. However, the status is coming. Individuals are gaining social status. They're becoming more confident. And with that marriage, children are growing up to be healthy children. Their quality of life is exactly the same as children of heterosexual parents. Thank you so much for letting me listen. I hope you did derive something from this. Okay, bye-bye.